All right, there is no better way to start off our Student Career Council of Canada series with our different leaders in campus recruitment than with Lisa Kramer. Lisa Kramer is a legend in the space. She's a pioneer. She's going to start blushing in a second, but she really is someone that all of us in the industry look up to. And so I thought I'd get her here today, ask her some questions. And really, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to help as many students as possible land their dream jobs, right? And there's many of you out there right now looking at BMO and thinking, that's where I want to be. And so who better than to hear from Lisa Kramer? So first of all, Lisa, thank you. And just right off the top, I was gonna ask you your favorite song and I was gonna play it. But listen, Lisa admitted that she doesn't have a lot of favorite songs. She just sings along to TikTok. Really, that's what it is, okay?
Yeah.
So if you want the way to Lisa's heart, send her some cool TikTok videos. But ultimately, Lisa, what is your favorite Starbucks drink? And I wish I was there in person to give it to you.
Oh, okay. Well, my favorite Starbucks drink is definitely a skinny vanilla latte. For those on my team know me well. I go every day to Starbucks, so I do have a bit of a problem, and it's my morning routine every day. Get my Starbucks and get the day going. So I was dying during COVID when I couldn't go to Starbucks. But yeah, so that's my favorite drink. And as I said, I will listen to whatever's on the radio or whatever my girls are TikToking to these days is generally what happens. So that's my favorite song.
I love it. So actually, that's a great segue into telling us about you. I mean, I've always known you as a mother and someone who does a really good job of balancing being a mom, being a professional. Tell us your story, Lisa.
Yeah, so a long time ago, I graduated from university and like many students at the time, really had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I fell into a role at the University of Waterloo where I graduated. They were looking for student recruitment officers to travel across the country and talk to prospective students about attending Waterloo. And so I did that job and honestly, I fell into it. Luck of the draw, loved it, loved everything about it. It was a pretty cool gig, I have to say, when you just graduate from school and they give you a corporate credit card and you get to travel across the country. From there, I spent a couple years in student recruitment, both there as well as at Ryerson in Toronto. And then I decided I wanted to make the move to corporate campus recruiting. It was starting to be a bigger, career in Canada at the time. And so I started at ATI Technologies, which is now AMD, and built out their co-op program. And to be honest, from there, I just kept on, I would get a phone call from another organization asking if I would come and build their program. And so I have worked across multiple industries, several different organizations building out their campus programs until I landed almost 3 years ago at BMO to transform our campus recruiting and early talent program here. When I'm not at work, I'm spending my time generally at the arena. My girls play hockey. And so I call myself a professional hockey mom. That's really where I spend the rest of my time. So it's great. A lot of people, I think, sort of ask why I've stayed in campus for so long. And to be honest, it's the variety, 100%. Every day is different, as well as the great students that we get to meet day in and day out.
Yeah, so well said. And I would never ask you why you were in campus for so long because, first of all, I know exactly how amazing it is firsthand. So totally get that, Lisa. And yeah, you definitely transformed, to use your word, you've transformed a lot of organizations and how they do campus. And we've seen that recently with BMO. So tell us a little bit about that. How does BMO recruit students now?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you indicated, we've been transforming our program. I think we've, obviously campus recruiting is a big business. It's high volume. It's how do we make those connections with students? And so when we look at our transformation, it's really been focused in a few areas. The first area would be student experience. We needed to make sure that we had a great experience for the students, not only as they were applying for roles, but all the way through their work term. And when we were doing that, the reason why the student experience is so important is that then kind of leads to the second focus, which is conversion. We want to make sure that once we're investing in students, bringing them in for their work terms, that they want to come back for a second or third work term, or they want to join us full time. That's really the end game, for us when we look at our campus program. And so those are really the areas we've been focused on, making those really strong connections with students. And then internally working to advise the business as to why we should hire more students, why early talent is a great lever for us as we look at how we're building pipelines for the organization and ensuring that we're bringing great students with the latest and greatest, technologies and enthusiasm, to our business.
Yeah, it's so true. We're also advocates, right, to try and increase those numbers and always should demonstrate the value that students bring. And so every student watching, listen, one thing I know for sure for Lisa and I both, but to every other leader that I've met that's passionate about this space, is that we recognize the value that you guys bring to the table, and we want more of it. We absolutely do. So Lisa, what do you look for in students typically? Is there, I know it changes based on, the different roles, but is there a few core things that you and BMO and your team look for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on it. Obviously, we're a large organization. We have multiple lines of business. So each line of business has their own nuances in terms of the skills and capabilities they're looking for. So, really for me, it's the other things that students bring to the table, right? It's getting involved. It's having a voice. It's, being proactive in terms of whether it's proactive in terms of networking, putting up your hand and asking a question when we have a session. Really at the end of the day, we're there to provide you an opportunity, whether it's an opportunity to interview, an opportunity to work for us, but it's really up to you as a student to drive that, right? We can't drive your career for you. We give you the opportunity to do that. And it's the students that rise to the occasion and certainly take that opportunity that we see are going to be most successful, whether it's through the interview process or through their work terms with us.
Yeah, so a lot of good tips there for everyone watching. I think that's important also to make sure that you bring your whole self, right? Absolutely. So no, go ahead, Lisa. Yeah,
I was going to say, around the whole self, everybody is unique. Everyone is an individual. We're not looking, we may hire in large volumes. That doesn't mean we want 1,000 of the same student, right? We are looking for that diversity of thought, diversity of perspective. So we absolutely encourage students to bring their whole self to work, to be able to drive things forward.
Yeah, so well said. And Lisa, I know there's tremendous respect amongst, the leaders of campus recruitment and the leaders within the organizations in the banking industry, right? So you think of the 5 big banks and 6, National Bank as well. But obviously there's a lot of information sharing where we can to make sure that we're, creating a better experience for our young people, doing things like increasing diversity and whatnot. Why do you think a young person today should want to join the banking industry?
It's always a good question, right? I think, there's definitely a proportion of student that when they think of banking, it's kind of like, oh, banking, boring, old school, not really moving things forward. And I think we, and when I say we, not just BMO, but all of the banks in general, have been able to come together and really demonstrate that there's, great career growth, there's great opportunities, there's you're not coming in. We have a abundance of different roles within our organization, right? So I think we're, working collaboratively together with the same common goal to be able to showcase that you can start at a bank in financial services and grow your career across multiple lines of business. Mm-hmm. You can start off, maybe you're starting off as, in a branch as a customer service rep, but we have great examples of people that have grown their careers and now they're working in technology, or maybe now they're a financial planner or mortgage specialist. And there's lots of opportunities to grow your career in the same organization. It's not, you're not coming in and doing the same thing sort of for the rest of your career. And so it's been great that we've been able to come together, myself, with our peers at the other financial institutions to really talk about that and make sure that as an industry, we're coming together and showcasing the great opportunities that we have. Particularly I'd call it in the tech space, right? You can come and have an amazing, career within technology at a bank. And when you're here and you're working with data, just think of the volumes of data that you get to work with. Or if you're creating an app for, our mobile bank, like think of how many customers then get to use that app. So I think there's lots of great opportunities, for students across multiple, diversity of programs and skill sets, et cetera. And that's one of the things that the banks certainly have to offer.
Yeah, totally agree. I feel like it would be really hard to think of an industry where there'd be more breadth in terms of career opportunities. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And when you think about it too, I mean, a lot of young people these days, there's a bit of a stigma towards, oh, my parents worked at an organization for 40 years. That's not going to be me. But what I'm hearing more and more with young people, the ones that are joining the banks, are saying, I can be here for 40 years and all the benefits that come with working at one institution for 40 years, but at the same time have a bunch of different careers in that organization, right? And maybe the common thread that we see from the people that we are hiring is high performers, right? Like we're hiring all of these really high performers. How do you define a high performer, Lisa?
Yeah, no, that's a good, absolutely. I think, we talk a lot about high performance. We talk about winning culture. Within my own team, as I say, I'm a hockey mom, so we talk a lot with sports analogies, and essentially we're looking for number one draft picks, right? That's how we talk about it. And how do you become a number one draft pick? You put in the time, you practice, you hone your skills. You're getting up early to, make sure that you're ready to go, when you join, start your day and everything else. And, so it's very similar to what we're looking for in terms of that high performance, right? The people that are willing to put up their hand and, take on a project that maybe is out of their wheelhouse or out of their comfort zone. It's, branching out and networking with individuals and other teams. It's really taking that initiative to drive things forward, right? We talked about, you have to drive your career forward. It's really, how are you stepping up, really step up and be an owner, own the work that you're doing and find the solutions, come to your manager with, options for solutions versus coming with problems. Those are the skill sets and capabilities that we certainly look for. And when we look for high performers, those are the individuals that are certainly standing out and standing above the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. So three things I was thinking of as you were saying that. One is, listen, everybody, if Lisa didn't have her BMO background right now, I guarantee you there'd be some hockey paraphernalia, either a jersey, maybe some memorabilia behind her, for sure. Okay. It's true, isn't it, Lisa?
I will. I probably should not take my background off because you totally bang on. There is tons of hockey stuff in my background, hence why I have this background to hide it.
The second thing I was thinking of is, it's funny, you talked about first round draft picks, which we're after, which is so great. And when I'm always, having conversations with people about the importance of hiring off campus and hiring young people, one of the analogies I use is it's the only time in the careers of these players where everyone's a free agent at the same time, right? Like, if you're hiring experienced hires, you're sort of after the ones that are ready when they say they're ready to look for a career. But, these students are all free agents. And then lastly, I just sort of thinking about the natural segue around these things that you're talking about to students, whether it be, the things you like to see as a high performer. You talked earlier about some of the tips. And I think students that are watching this, these are the things you want to demonstrate, right, to potential employers. So if you're building your resume, you want to make sure that some of these things are the things you're highlighting. If you're meeting recruiters, you want to make sure that you're bringing that to light. I think that's fantastic. And Lisa, maybe just some whether it's tips or whether it's advice for students to be able to say, hey, if I want to launch my career at BMO, whether it's full-time as a new grad or a co-op or an internship, how can I go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'm going to say I love the free agent analogy. I'm going to use that moving forward. So that's fantastic. I'm going to steal that. Sorry, I'm not stealing. We share within the. I will. You're going to let me share that one. So love that. In terms of what they can do to stand out, I think one of the things that we have done exceptionally well at BMO is become much more accessible as a campus team. So. Obviously we have our Instagram. You can connect with us through there. All of our recruiters are on LinkedIn. We're just launching on Monday our fall virtual campus tour. So lots of opportunities to register for those events, and meet with our team. The team answers the questions. If you have them, reach out, because chances are if you have the question, a whole bunch of other students do as well. So we're here to make sure that you have the information you need. We know, as you said, they're all free agents all at the same time. So as much as, as a company, we're looking to bring, students on board, we also know students are looking at multiple companies at the same time. So, I would say we're here absolutely to answer those questions. Anyone on the team will take the time to do that. We have, whether it's the fall campus tour, we have Ask Us Anything sessions, we've got, coffee chats, etc. We're here to get those questions answered.
Yeah, so great. And that's such a great message to students, right? Get to know us and we want to get to know you. And those generally lead to the best hiring decisions. Absolutely. Lisa, before we go, and again, thank you so much for your time. Anything you wanted to put out there, or anything that students should know beyond what we talked about today?
Yeah, I think I think we've touched on a lot of those things. I think the things I would leave with the students today is be proactive. Right? If you want to get noticed, you have to step up to be proactive and do that. Don't be afraid to connect. Be smart about who you're connecting with as well. There's lots of great ways. We talked about connecting with members of the campus recruiting team. Connect with people who are alumni from your school. I think that's one of the biggest untapped, sources of a network that students often don't always tap into. So you can very easily go onto LinkedIn and see who else graduated from your school or your program, who might be a few years ahead of you. Reach out to them, ask them their questions. And then lastly, don't think of when you're looking for that first career opportunity, it's just the first one. It's not the end game, right? And I think it's really important for students to not lose perspective of that. Your first role is going to help you get your second role, which will help you get your third role. If I looked back and I stayed somewhat similar in the campus recruiting space, but if I look back to when I first graduated, I am not doing anything remotely close to what I planned on doing. And so I think it's being open to those new opportunities as they present themselves. It's good to have a plan. It's okay for you to deviate from the plan. And so take those opportunities as they come is really what I would, encourage students to do.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much, Lisa Kramer. I appreciate it. And so students that are watching, and I know a lot of you want to join BMO, so make sure that you're connecting. And Lisa talked about a lot of the different channels for doing that. But Lisa, thanks so much. Have a great day. And we'll definitely have you back for another round, because there's going to be some new things to cover in the future, as there always is in campus, right?
Amazing. Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.